Welcome to Implausible Nature, your home for all things Black Templar. On today's video, we are going up the chain in our lists here and moving up to 1,000 points and talking about what we would field at 1,000 points. This is where incursion mission starts, and you can start using the Grand Tournament book. Let's get right into it. We have an evolution. If you watched our 500 point video, which you can see here, uh, we have an evolution of the first list in that had some Vanguard vets and a jump pack chaplain. So we're going to take a look at this list right here, which you can build on from that list. So Bob, why don't you tell us about this list and what your decision process was?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you can see, the list here is again, it's kind of an evolution. We're adding a little bit more, so we still have that chaplain in there on the jump pack, as well as our Vanguard veterans, and we do have a little bit more fun things. We have the assault interceptors. This one does not have the champion of feast and the sword of judgment on that. Just a basic squad. But we added Infiltrator Squad. So we've talked many, many, many times about how good infiltrators are with the Helix Gauntlet. 1,000 points is no different. So when you're rocking Uphold in your vow, so these guys will be terribly hard to kill. And one of the things that is really kind of fun about them is they can do the concealed position, so you can get them where you need to on the board, start earning those victory points right off the bat. Yes, you're running a smaller board with them in the 1,000 points, but it's still a great unit. They're very durable, and yeah, you can get some free wounds, auto wounds on those guns. That's not often talked about. So we have our Redemptor Dreadnought. That's a standard on that, but we are in a combat patrol, so we can only fit another elite unit, and it's going to be the Vanguard Veterans. So this is going to be a full-size squad. Lightning Claw, Storm Shield. So Revered Repository is going to be taking the Skull of Kekadamus on the Sergeant, as well as Bones of Mordred Relic Bearer on him. So that way he can have a little bit of an additional poof in close combat, and it's comparable when you take the Champion of the Feast on him as well. It's very comparable to maybe like a Fist of Balthus or a Thunderhammer in doing damage to a higher or a bigger toughness thing, especially those -1 damage things that you're almost certainly going to see at the 1,000 point level. So he can put some additional damage out there. 1.5 mortal wounds is on average for him. If you're lucky, you get up to 2 on that. And if you combine it with the chaplain, with the Psalm of Remorseless Persecution, he can potentially double up. But he's going to be generating his own mortal wounds uh, on top of the Psalm, so that's kind of cool as well. So usually it'll take about 8 Vanguard veterans to cap out on your Psalm, your 6, but he can generate some more on that. So you got some fire support with your Vanguard veterans having some close combat punch. They're very aggressive, get to the necessary objectives. Then you have rounding out with 2 land speeders to give you some melt power to put in some shots on your opponent. That's some tougher things, maybe vehicles if they have them. Dreadnoughts probably going to be seeing it if you're going against mech or things like plague burst crawlers, that type of thing. So they can also get across the board to corners, objectives, that type of thing. Gives you some additional units on the board. So it's a really well-rounded list.
Yeah, I really like this list a lot. It kind of has all the things that we want in a 2,000 point list, just in smaller, compact form and a 1,000 point list. So you've got your objective, grabbing units, infiltrators, and assault intercessors. One thing to note, the infiltrators, a lot of folks think they see that concealed positions where they can be deployed outside your deployment zone. And a lot of folks think, I need to push them up as far up the board as possible. And you really don't want to do that. You want to keep them maybe midfield at most. And oftentimes you can, especially with some of the weirder deployments where you're like table quarters or diagonal, you can put them outside your deployment zone in your own table half. and they help screen your board that way, your backfield, which is really important. And so don't discount keeping them back. You don't need to put them forward. You can keep them back and utilize them because now they're further away from your opponent, so they're not going to be an easy target for an assault unit turn one. And they're going to be able to utilize that helix really well and keep you safe from opposing deep strikes.
And I was going to say, and with Gene Stealers out there, they're going to be able to keep your blips out.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, obviously Redemptor Dreadnought, we all know and love it. The Vanguard Vets squad, this is obviously a change from what we previously have recommended. If you've been watching our channel in the past, usually we've had Thunderhammers in there too. But while it's not a bad take if you can squeeze in the points for the Thunderhammers, the Lightning Claws are really, really good with Psalm of Remorseless Persecution. It makes it really easy to hit that cap of 6 mortal wounds.
Yeah.
We talked about that in a previous video where you can see the math here. And it it really reduces, especially if you can get Litany of Hate on them, so they have rerolls to hit and rerolls to wound. You're going to max that out with very few Vanguard vets. So as they take losses, you'll still be able to get a lot of mortal wounds, which is awesome. So, and then the land speeders, as Bob mentioned, they're fast. I really think that they are going to be the new attack bikes. We've long touted attack bikes as a really great multi-melta platform. They still are a really great multi-melta platform, but if you can spare the extra 10 points, the land speeder is a significant upgrade in my opinion because you get 4 extra inches of movement, you get 2 extra points of toughness, 2 extra wounds. Um, it has the same access to the same strats that the attack bike does, and most importantly, it's a vehicle. So if you want to take engage on all fronts, those attack bikes won't score for you, but the land speeders will. So if you can spare the 10 points in your list, consider a land speeder over an attack bike.
It also has fly, which is
It
important
also
to
has
remember.
fly. Yes, thank you. That was the other thing. Fly is huge because now you can park it completely behind a building and just ignore that building as you move forward with that extra movement, right? So, so yeah. All right. So that's our first list. Let's take a look at our second list, which is, as we said before, sort of a bit of an evolution of our first 500 points. Um, and Bob, why don't you tell us what we're running in this list?
Okay, so this one's going to be a little bit more changed than the previous one, but again, an evolution, right? So this one is going to be taking High Marshal Helbrecht. So we all know what a beast this guy is, right? Imagine having him in 1,000 points, where you can very single-handedly have him escort things like the two assault intercessor squads that are in the list, and the Blade Guard veteran to give the rerolls to one, and you can give your complete rerolls to one of your units. Maybe it's going to be a Redemptor Dreadnought that is also on the list. So, as you'll see in this, there's, like I mentioned, the two assault intercessor squads. You have upgraded Blade Guard veteran unit, so it's 5 man now. So you have that additional durability as well as attack power with that, especially if you have Helbrecht running around behind him. As we talked about in the previous list, we have the land speeders to give that Melta ability that can get around the board, mobility, do the things that you need to score points. So those are great units for you. Then finally, we have our Devastator squad. So got to bring the Grav unit back in. So they're great for holding your own objective. They're going to do a ton of damage to anything with 3 plus. But if you feel like you don't really want to invest in the Devastator squad because you will have to buy 2 Devastator unless you can get some Grav bits off of eBay or something like that, or from a friend, you could sub those out for some Eradicators who would also do pretty well in the list as well. So on this one, Helbrecht is going to be your warlord. You're not going to have the litanies on that. So this is going to be more walk based, not going to be as fast as the previous list is because of the bodies. You want to keep a little bit of the castle there to get the rerolls and then spread out as you need. But you do have those land speeders to get to where you need to do, and then the grav unit can sit in the back while you have your death ball moving up the board.
Something to note, obviously, Helbrecht is a named character, so you cannot give him a relic. So you do lose out on that free relic slot here. But I think, honestly, Helbrecht more than makes up for it. He's such a beast. He's so good, it's ridiculous. He's hard to kill. He's got 8 wounds. He can transhuman, and he's really, really deadly in combat. So he's worth losing that relic slot because of everything you get with him with the bonus, the +1 to strength, and all that stuff. Something else that you could do because we are running a patrol detachment here. If you wanted to, you could combine those 2 assault intercessor squads into one. You can always combat squad them as well. The only downside to that is you lose out on the extra attack from the sergeant. If you combat squad them, but it would also give you the option of, hey, I need a big blob of dudes because the board is still smaller than it is for 2,000 points, and some of those missions do have maybe only 4 objectives, but generally speaking, you want to have more units, especially at this point level. It's still a small game, so having more units is generally going to be better, but that is an option for you. The Blade Guard are really, really good at this points level still, same as 500. 5 of them are going to be really, really durable, and Helbrecht can run with them as well, although really the Assault Intercessors benefit a little bit more from that +1 because the Blade Guard are already strength 5 with their power swords. And then the rest of the list is the same as the other one: Redemptors and Land Speeders. Great firepower units, great units to have. The speed of those Land Speeders is going to help you capture table quarters, faraway objectives, whatever the case may be. So, um, a really solid list. Definitely will play a little different. It's a little slower than the other list. It doesn't have those Vanguard vets in there, but it's still going to hit really hard when they meet combat. So yeah. So that's all we have for you today. Any final thoughts on playing 1,000 points, Bob?
Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit of different mentality than the 500 points is, but it's still small enough that each unit matters. So this is kind of where the points level where you can start making some key list building choices where you actually have to pay attention how things synergize together rather than just, hey, this is what I
Here's a good
got.
unit. Here's a really good unit. Here's a
Yeah,
third good unit. Go. Yeah,
yeah. You
you
kind of
have
have
to
to think about,
actually. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, where they synergize together and how they're going to help each other, because incursions they're starting to see a little bit bigger board sizes, more objectives, and more interactivity with differing things, and your opponent's going to have more stuff too, so that's going to be kind of important on that. So uh, I think 1,000 points is kind of that place you really wanted to be playing at if you want to learn the game and learn the intricacies of the book
Yep.
itself, because you get enough units on the board that you can see how things interact with your opponent. You have enough CP because you're going to be running with 6 to start off with the game, unless you use some additional CP. Uh, but you have enough CP to use the things in the supplement as well as the Space Marine book. So you get an idea of how everything works itself. But it's not so huge like a 2,000 point. You're going to be spending 2.5, 3 hours playing the game. You could probably get through 1,000 points in an hour, hour and a half,
Yeah.
potentially.
Yeah, exactly. And in those larger games, especially if you're a newer player, it becomes a lot to manage, and it
Yeah.
can feel overwhelming because things like target priority and maneuvering your units around the board when you have so many to do can feel a little overwhelming and definitely be a little too much as you're trying to learn the game. This is really, as you said, sort of the breaking point between, hey, I want to try out 40K, or maybe we're doing an escalation or painting league or something. Um, I'm a play a quick game just to throw some dice and whatever the case is, versus okay, now we can start using synergies and tactics, um, which is where 1,000 points sort of sits at that stage level where you can start to use those things as you said, and really start to learn the actual strategies and mechanics
Yeah.
of the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's all we have for today. So let us know down in the comments what you guys think of the list. What lists have you been running at 1,000 points? What have you had success with? Make sure if you want to support the channel, please give us a like and subscribe. We also have a Patreon. We want to thank all of our patrons. We couldn't do this without you guys. So if you want to support us through Patreon, that would be awesome. We'd really appreciate it. You get things like special Discord roles and early access to videos. Speaking of Discord, we have a really active community of folks talking all things Black Templars, from tactics to hobby and everything in between. So come check us out. It's a really great place. And until next time, keep on crusading.